everybody. It is Cinnamon Coney, your Art Sherpa, and tonight we're going to work on our step 2, our stage 2 of our Her Peony painting. It's a round canvas. We can get right in and show them the surface. This is what we're doing. On the mic is John.
Hey guys.
As per the usual. Hopefully as a patron, you kind of know who he is, but maybe you just jumped in. You're like, I'll help this 5-minute lady out, and you just found yourself here. I don't know. Oh, thank you. That's arranging. I can hear it in an echo, babe. Yeah.
That's you.
Oh, am I? I'm the echo.
It's your technology.
Hi, Patty. I have not used the Instapot yet because I am waiting on our, secret Gus to get here and help me with it.
Because of 5 minutes videos.
Because of 5-minute videos. That's really what it is. I'm making so many 5-minute videos. I made a bunch of them.
You've made more than a few. You've made more than a dozen.
Yeah, I have now. I've now made more than a dozen, and it's just the beginning because I am a pig-headed person is what it is. So we were doing this wonderful still life. I like to do this with our patronage. These are kind of more involved, obviously more relaxed, kind of, groovy lessons where we work on different skills. This is something I wanted to paint for a long time. We changed a few things a little bit in the arrangement of it just to make it more interesting. I definitely got some pictures of this stage. So if you hadn't gotten any stuff on the stage, hello, Miss Linda Sue. Linda is like hanging out with Patty. So I think it's going to be just a very chill patron night because we're doing this on an unusual night because we missed last week. Now, I'm going to do this work here that I'm doing tonight with a filbert. And you're like, why not a capstan? Because I don't want to point. I want just it to be round. This is the black pearl brush. And here's the thing about my black pearl brushes. I never had any loose ferrules. So my experience with them has always been good. And then I know some community members had loose ferrules. And then me and John kind of freaked out about that. And then they kind of fixed the ferrules. I do like these brushes as long as the ferrules are attached. So this is quinacridone magenta, this is zinc white, this is ultramarine blue, this is burnt umber, and this is yellow ochre. And I'm going to do some of these backward flowers just because, honestly, it's been that kind of a week and I need to do some flowers in the distance. I'm going to load up with my zinc and a little bit of my blue, even less than that, man. It needs to be so little. And this is going to be kind of cooling in the background. And I'm going to start putting in some of these distant little leaves. I like this zinc because it's transparent. I'm going to just kind of look at the shape that I've got here. I've sort of sketched in where I think the general placement of these flowers are, but it's a suggestion in my mind. I'm sure they will wander as I paint them. How you doing, babe? It's been a long day. You have been editing 5-minute videos.
It has been a long day.
I love them. Can't stop. Yeah, I know I need to. Just can't do it. I really like doing this type of flower. They have such nice, heavy weighted structures. If I need to create kind of a shadow in one of the petals, I just mix the burnt umber and the ultramarine. It makes a very lovely gray. So if there's a petal that's, I'm more in the shades as this petal, then you can be like, no, you're not. And they'll be like, yeah. You can't make me shine. You can't do it. And I'm going to be like, I think I can. And bring that down here. With these, I like to sort of capture kind of the overall shape and then play with the value of that shape. There's a little one tucked there. And then they love to bend their little petals back. They're very messy. They are, John. They're messy. I don't know if they're messy in the garden, but they're just sort of a generally messy flower. You can see it's just sort of very dark and chill. I'm going to put out some titanium white because it'll be playing against all these colors. It kind of pulls the flowers together as we go. I just needed to paint some flowers.
I get it.
Donna. Oh, look, it's like the crew, right? It's the crew. So the thing about the titanium white is when it gets in here, it's really going to be able to brighten the petal. And so you see I can come in and capture some little elements of these with the titanium. Not bright, but it feels bright in relationship to the shadow that they're in. They're in the shade. They're very shaded. I like kind of capturing that. You can see the brush creates sort of a straight-edged line that's very like, oh, I'm a flower. Amazing what little things tell us that they are. The thing to remember with flowers, I think, one of the things that really helped me with flowers is that the brush strokes kind of go, whether you're drawing, sketching, watercoloring, or painting peonies, the brush strokes will go the direction the petal grows. You just want to make sure that you're doing that when you're going forward. You can spend some time. You don't have to like rush through them. You can play with them. They're your flowers, so play in your garden is what I think. That's what I say, John, but I've been working all day, so.
I don't know. Everything in my brain is going, you can time ramp this. Make it 5 minutes.
I feel like this could have been a 5-minute tutorial and we all would have been happier for it.
Well, no, you do have to, you don't get to go into the detail that you do in these videos.
No, I'm like, press some white paint, paint it really fast. Brush stroke.
Hold your brush up, brush it up. You made a brush stroke. Do this other way. Don't do it that way.
I know, it's pretty fun.
It's the Sherpa coaster.
It is a bit of a Sherpa coaster, isn't it? Feels like it could be a bit of a Sherpa coaster. I really like those two.
They're fun.
That's it. That's all we were doing today, flowers.
See you later. That was like 7 minutes. That's all you get.
Good times. I'm going to take a little of my zinc and a little of my titanium white, and that almost makes like a mixing white, but I'll go ahead and let some of that blue get into it. And we're going to come here and start to create this more substantial flower that's sort of right here. Oh, let's put a little pink there. I feel like I see a little pink in this petal. And you can do that with peonies. You can kind of tip them with things. And they'll just take it.
Will they?
Yeah. And what's great is the petals will also do a very nice purple between the ultramarine and the quinacridone, so you can really get in there and purple it up. Which also, with the black and all the other stuff that we've going on here, will feel a lot like this peony being in the shadow somewhat as well. Peony's in the shadow. A little more blue into that purple. That'll help make it feel a little more shady. Shady peony. Talk smack about the other peonies. They're like, what is its problem? I see them curving these strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit of a layering element to a lot of this. I'm going to go ahead and dry so that I can kind of get some yellows and some other colors involved as I'm going.
There we go. Found the correct buttons. And think, hey, guys, how's it going? I see some more folks out there. Just nice to see everyone hanging out, chatting with us. Nice to see our patron family.
What you got, sir?
I was just noticing there was more people there when I last looked.
There's six people. 6 people are here.
I feel like the count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3.
You are the count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come in here, like just some different places. I'm going to add some of this kind of deep value green. And it's not like you necessarily see it all that well. It's so dark. The wonderful thing about doing these deep greens out here is if you get just even a little bit of this yellow ochre into it and a little bit of that zinc, you can kind of create dark, a little bit like Darkwing Duck, but not. I like that right there. Like we're getting some botanical on. I'm like Dave Jensen up in here. Yeah. 5-minute roses are coming soon. I just feel mean. Just adding the mix of zinc and white coming in. The filbert is just a wonderful brush. It just is. It's just a wonderful, wonderful brush that you get to play with and work with. I'm going to take a little of this out and I'll get just the smidgiest. Oh my gosh, let's sneak into that yellow ochre. And again, this wouldn't normally seem all that yellow, except in the context of everything else. It will feel a bit yellow. I'm going to paint in this little ball there. Like, kind of pull that in, and I can always come back up when I do those upward strokes and find those curved in petals sort of defined this way. Yeah, we're getting that. We close that flower up. Closing it up, man. And then when we're trying to say that there's sort of a little ball here, I make those little strokes inwards. So there's that sense of some of those petals kind of going in, kind of being like that, and get back into my purple.
You're gonna have to whisper louder.
I have to whisper louder?
Yeah.
And just be like creepy with my purple. This is a whisper. Honestly, if I whispered when I did my tutorials, I'd probably have millions of subscribers. If I was like this.
A little louder. Too quiet.
It's not too quiet. ASMR. I'm doing an ASMR bit. Not funny? It was a little funny. It's not funny?
I think it's funny.
Funny? I don't know. I see all kinds of people. We're just kind of getting some flowers in today. Put some flowers in today, right? There's like just come in, and then once those are in, I can come back with a bit of pop of really hot white. You know, and then you get into the pink a bit. Playing with those flowers. The thing about the flowers in a painting like this is that they can just be much more than the reference themselves. You're not really as beholden to the reference as you might feel, and you can do a lot to play with all the things that you're seeing. This, I'll lighten that. Maybe get a little brown into it. Bit leaf in the shadow more. That'd be a little leafy in the shadow. Where I have this like yellow, I can get really into it. Get a little bit of my zinc in there. And it creates a bit of a highlight, but not so much. If you want to look at this from the top, see where we're getting.
Yeah.
You can go just a little bit today. I've had a crazy long day, but I wanted to get some flowers in. I wanted to give us something to be excited that we did. So we could be like, I did it. I did it. I painted some flowers. It was happy. It was exciting. I painted some flowers and that, give us a little joy. We all need a little joy.
Mm-hmm.
And come in. This is kind of like a dark purple and some of that right there. A little bit stronger where you want to pull attention to it. Full attention. I love still lives. I always have. Really loved the Renaissance still lives. There's a whole thing in art where actually there's this sort of perception that doing still lives is like selling out. Like you get a lot of shade for doing still lives sometimes, and the reason is that they're super commercial. Like most people are open to purchasing a beautiful still life to put in their home, and I think that makes sense to me. Like, I'll hear artists talking about, well, this isn't like art. And I'm like, well, it kind of is like art. Like, imagining it's like art. But I'm like, beyond that, the museum that we visit is very different than the space that we live in. And the kind of things that we look at where we live is very important. I can see where there's some important paintings out there in the world. Like, I love Bosch. If you have not Googled Bosch, make sure that you're alone and not at work, because Bosch is not safe for work. And I would not want to explain it to my boss or children, but Bosch is like one of the great painters. And, I can see the merits of everything that was ever done. And that whole thing, like Michael Bosch, I mean, his depictions of hell were imaginative and graphic, even by today's standards. I don't think I would like a giant Bosch on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it lives far away from my home and I can visit it, contemplate its intent and nature, and then return back to my very happy painting of flowers. It just kind of works for me. They're playing Knock Knock. Yeah, I'm going to try not to have a feeling about that. I'm going to put out a little yellow. What? Knock Knock. What? I'm going to bunch my flowers a little bit closer together. And this is something a lot of times people don't think about when they're doing a painting. They get very like, this is what it is. And so it has to be exactly what I'm seeing. And it's like, yeah, but this is just information. So you paint it how it works for you. I'm going to have a very heavy grouping of flowers, right? And things are going to be much more involved in this space. But I wouldn't do it without the references. I'm going to get into my zinc again and a little of my ultramarine, and it picks up some of my quinacridone and goes purple on me. I won't be sad. Just enough of my titanium white to maybe get some thoughtful petals works kind of going up here. And I think I'm going to look at what I've got. There's some delicate work in this particular flower that I really enjoyed. Finding it, I think, is going to be an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When I have a large forward-facing petal, I come from underneath and I curve that up so that, again, the directionality of my brush stroke kind of reflects the overall shape of things that I'm looking at.
I know it might be hard to find a velvet surface.
You want to paint a velvet surface?
But have you thought about flocking?
No, it's not. First, it's not hard to find a velvet surface. There's a velvet canvas company. They make all kinds of sizes. We're an 18+ group, right? So there's these velvet paintings that I'm obsessed with that are nudes, and they're also landscapes. and it's basically a woman whose breasts are waterfalls, and it's like the craziest thing. And they're on velvet paintings, and they were in hotels. I don't know what hotels, but again, not safe for work. It's like, but not as upsetting as Bosch. So
I've never heard of these.
Oh my gosh, can I show you? You will freak out. You'll be like, what is this? And I'm I want to paint them, but there's a weird, I think in all of us, there's a weird kind of like, what would you call it? The one that just wants to run to the side. There's like there's a reasonable path to take, but there's this weird part of me that's like, wait, if we go over here, who knows what will happen? And whenever I see those paintings, I'm like, I want to do some of these. They're so crazy. Like, I don't know if it's an act of feminism to repaint them, or was it I just don't even know how I feel about them.
I would like to see them.
They're so, they have captured me. I had you at velvet. Lactating waterfall breasts was just the bonus.
I was just like, wait a minute. How have we not seen this before?
I can actually tell you who's done what painting at this point.
It's the art world is so big. We think YouTube is big, man.
Yeah, people are creative and also weird. So there's an interesting combo of things that are happening there.
What I love about the art world,
putting a bunch of darker blue in here
is
so that
just when you think you were novel and creative and unique, and like I did this thing.
Ethan,
and it's like,
what's Ethan's name?
Guess what? About 200 years ago, somebody else did that, and then about 2,000 years before that, somebody else did that. And about 4,000 years before that, somebody did the same thing. So
I liked what Ethan said. So
not original.
So I love it. And your mom's like the crooked path, the garden path, the final frontier. She's gone full Star Trek. So there's of course this whole like big conversation about copyright and plagiarism and everything going on right now because such big personalities in the art world are having this battle. By the way, this happens all the time. Just Google Dean Koontz. This is like his whole life. And the thing is, there's Ethan. What was Ethan's last name? I don't remember Ethan's name. There's this YouTuber, and his name is Ethan. He does art things, and he was like that anyone could have the audacity to think that they could make an original stroke of ink. And I was like, on some kind of level, that's the truest thing I've ever heard. Like, there's copyright, but that's a legal term, right? That's about business. And, I have a business, so I have copyright. I certainly register mine, and we trademark things, and I protect it, and I need to. But, like, on an artistic sense, I very rarely get up and think, now I've just come up with something completely new that nobody's ever seen. I think when I was throwing horses through the sky.
That was...
I felt a little original there. But
you made contemporaneously unique. I don't think anybody else right now is dropping horses from the sky. I'm not sure that isn't true of all of history.
I think what's crazy is that I understood the horse's physiology enough to know the positioning its body would be in if it was flung through the air, so that there was a sort of authenticity to the piece. But all of that being said, even there, I don't know. I think it's really hard. I think there's been billions of people, and I think there's a sort of narcissism.
I think if we went
to
back,
feel like one is the specialist snowflake, and maybe we are. I don't know, but it's a question that you think about in art when you get kind of into it more professionally. As I am not painting, because clearly I've been painting all day, and then
maybe not with the artistic
I'm
flair.
Going zinc white, and maybe not with the artistic flair
that you did. I think in the Middle Ages, there may have been some horses being flung.
I think if I had painted that in the Middle Ages, I'd have found myself strapped to a pole and set fire to, which, by the way, is in my list of ways I specifically don't want to die. I have a list of them, eaten by something specifically. My list of ways I specifically do not wish to die is very long.
In fairness, your use of color and figure foreground reversal and just the complexity.
You know what those words mean.
Yeah, because of the sky and the horse and you played with the positioning of the rocks to be able to play with how
That's actually, you're darn, actually he's correct, because you couldn't tell where the horse was going to land, and that was an intentional space.
So if you had brought any of those things to bear in that time period, you probably would have been considered a master because they weren't doing those things at that time.
Oh, yeah, no, but also insane. And then as a woman, though, there were famous women artists. It wasn't like you couldn't be a woman artist. It just, it's not like people were investing in female art education, but there certainly were a few. They were the holdouts, they were the exception, not the rule, sadly.
I am probably one of the most armchair educated art. Like
people play fantasy football, you think about art.
I'm a fantasy art player.
I think they call that a curator.
I'm a museum curator. All museum curators are writing me hate mail right now.
No, I think they would agree with you. I mean, that's like Matt Adams, right? It's just like that whole space. But he's so mad at artists all the time. So you can see them creating the sense of shadow using the ultramarine. And
he's mad at him. I guess he's frustrated with their ineptitude and lack of internal drive.
He does not enjoy the work ethic of artists or their lack of professionalism.
Let's not lump all artists into being.
I'm just saying his take. I'm not saying my take. I'm saying his take. Because he's very he treats art like the Hunger Games. So he really expects you to go in and be like, hi, I'm Katniss Everdeen and I will survive this exhibit. Do not cut that man's title tag wrong. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. Yeah. I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow and my yellow ochre. The yellow ochre is just to kind of knock this back. I could also do the little purple thing.
The little purple thing.
Yeah, where I use purple to kind of control gray the yellow. See how I've created that little gray there, and then I can bring it over into this, creating a less saturated yellow.
If there is one eye and one horn, run.
One eye, one horn, purple people, yeah, one eye, one horn. I don't know what to say about any of that.
Avoid flying purple people eaters.
Again, on my list of ways I don't wish to die.
That just saying, if you saw
such
anything
a long wish,
flying purple and eating people, avoid it. This is not a nightmare where your
my existential crisis lately has been really
mattress
to go through. Not pleasant to be around. Gonna continue to add some highlights and add some petals. I like to add petals. I curve that one in. And I also keep bringing that around. Maybe a brighter yellow. And kiss a couple spots there. It would be there, right? A little bit of a glow when you use it pure, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's still going. On a cave wall with the stick sure seems strange to me. She's like, I will carry this chat alone. Patrons are the quietest class. They're like,
can
shh. I think they actually are painting with me, which is why they're quiet. They're probably like, you could focus. That would be great because I have 30 minutes to get. I'm making a little dark color here so that we can kind of bring a little more shadowed petal. More shadowed petal. Exaggerate this. And then I'll fix in just a second where I'll put this other petal on top of it. Add a little shadow to that petal. Shade it up. By the way, I lost my rag, and there was a tempted part of me that was like, shirt isn't my favorite shirt anymore. I don't want to go looking for the rag. And then I'm going to bring this up. So you can kind of see how whenever I'm doing this, I really think about the contour shape of the petal and then its value, and that's where they sort of come from. And then I try to brush stroke in the direction that the petal would grow. That's what I try and do. That's what I always try and do. It looks messy. It's really not. Sometimes it's nice to just pop a little bit of the bright white on a couple of the petals to sort of imply that something is really caught a bit of light.
Nothing, just interesting.
You're just interested.
Yeah.
Mirror you. I always forget that I can turn my thing. All right, let's look at that from up top. How are we doing?
Looking good.
Ah, Patty and Linda. Talking. All right, let's look overhead. So for me, overhead, and I don't know if I can kind of show you guys where we're at. You can sort of see how that's going. That's just building, and that's nice. You know, we're just building in, and I think we're hitting 30 minutes. I'm going to put in a few more leaves.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to take it to here. We're going to meet back up again Thursday. And here's why we're going to take it to here is because this might be a very new process and technique for you. And if it is, and it might be, I'm going to take a little of my ultramarine into this here. What you may find is that you need a second to kind of address and think about these techniques. It's weird. I don't know if you can see this here, but this particular green, when you take ultramarine and mix it into phthalo green, you get a particular deep foliage green that I am super fond of. Super fond of it. How fond? Super fond.
Super fond.
I'm going to bring this down here. And I'm really sort of doing this because there's going to be a layering that we do. And what's nice is these will all cure. So when we come in to layer, like the cure. Donna Cox. I'm mesmerized by the magic, says Donna. Oh, she's so nice to me. Let's just keep adding that kind of teal green. And we can come in and these subtle little colors, you know, on camera may not always resonate, but on the canvas will. This idea that there's this dense foliage that is having a moment. And then what's great is I can kind of come in and just a bit of the toning of the umber and then grab some pad yellow. Now, normally this wouldn't feel like that bright of a color, but in the context of the value of this space, it is quite bright. And that does make it a super lot of fun. And there's some more flowers that are going to tuck in here. So these will just be bits of green that peek out from them. And we may lose some of them. So don't make your favorite brush stroke that you've ever made in your life at this stage. Save that for later. Save it for later. And what I want you to do, your kind of like proverbial homework, so to speak. Let's get some of our zinc white to really lighten this. I want you to put this up until we meet again or until you do the next lesson, but put it up and look at it for a few days and see what you feel like. Take it in, because I want you guys to start thinking about your art brain, that the way that your brain works when you're doing art, and learn to hear those instincts and those intuitions, because they're there and they're very difficult to develop and listen to, because everything in our life from childhood to adulthood, especially adulthood, is meant to repress that part of your thinking space. So taking a little minute and putting it up and looking at it, not critically, but just like listen to see if you hear, oh, it could use a little value. You know, I'd like some pink over there. There'll be quiet little moments in your mind, and it's important to develop those. I will be doing that same thing too, but I always do that. John listens to me all the time. I'll be like looking at something and I'll have a lot to say that I was like, now that I'm looking at this, I feel this way about it.
You have a few things to say.
I'll have a few things to say, and I want you guys to learn how to do that as well, to kind of create and curate that sense of things. Do you guys want a sneak peek because you were so good to be here? You guys are so good to be here. You want to see the whole week?
Let's see.
Before we get them posted up? One of the 5-minute tutorials, birch trees.
Ooh, I saw that one.
Another of the 5-minute tutorials. I'm really excited about this one. Another of the 5-minute tutorials this week. Do it. Another of the 5-minute tutorials this week. 5 minutes. So you got to do the first bit. The one we did today is helpful for the rest of these because I made a point of showing the different techniques we were going to use to create these. Another 5-minute tutorial. This is rainbow. Do I like rainbows? I don't know. I might.
There's a theme there.
And this is tomorrow's.
I've seen that one too.
Yeah. So this is what we're doing on our 5 minutes. And what we're hoping is, and you guys really, when you guys come by, when you support the patronage like you are here, when you come by and do super chat, all the amazing stuff that you guys do, when you buy the kit for Halloween, you guys really make it possible for us to do a series like that because we don't really know how it's going to go over on YouTube. It's not like we could count on the AdSense or YouTube receiving it. And as you can see, it's been a really amazing, well received for our community new series of lessons because there's a whole group of people that just cannot spend time with me hour on end. They would like to, but they just can't, but they can do a 5-minute lesson. I'm really excited about these, and I just want you to know I couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you guys for joining us.
I couldn't do it without you either.
It's been editing, this would be nothing without you.
Editing. You would be doing some normal job, having a very happy life. Be good to yourself, guys, and be good to each other. And John and I want to see you in an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.